Tammy Beilstein. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras. I'm here tonight with Debbie Calcote from the American Red Cross. We've just been talking for a couple of minutes here, and she is fun. You might think someone with such a serious position or does such deep work like that would be maybe a little bit stuffy. So I want you to tell us all about the Red Cross. From when I think of American Red Cross, I think of two things. I think of blood donations, and I think of you guys being there during huge like natural disasters. But there's probably a little bit more to it than...
There's a little bit more to that.
Tell us about it.
Red Cross, the American Red Cross actually does local events too, on a day-to-day basis. We have our house fires, where families are displaced out of their homes. And Red Cross is called. We have agreements with the fire departments. So if a family, there's a house fire department asks the family, do you have a place to go? Do you have what's needed to help you? And if they say no, then Red Cross is called. And we have disaster action teams that go out. They're trained on a regular basis, and they'll go 24/7. Doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, they respond. We get a call from dispatch, and they respond, and they meet the family at the home. And we provide them, if the home is inhabitable, then we provide them with 3 nights lodging. And they're given a CAT card, which is a client assistance card, which is like a credit card that has funding on it to help them with food and clothing if all clothing is lost.
Oh, how nice.
So we do that on a regular basis.
Does that cost the family anything?
No.
Nothing?
All Red Cross services are free.
Boy.
That's when it comes to disaster, that's what the donor dollar is for.
Okay.
That's what people donate with their heart for, is so that it goes out to help those within the communities that are affected by different things, whether it is a fire, a flood, something that happens that displaces a family from what they're used to being in, which is a home and safety and comfort.
Okay. So if it's one family, they get the 3 nights lodging and this card. What if it's a larger number of people? Is there a limit? If it's this many people or more, then you open up the school gym and people go there?
Exactly. That's where the difference between a shelter, if it's 10 or more families involved, like when it's an apartment complex, or like what we had with the Rim fire, where there were so many people displaced because of fire or because of smoke, health reasons, then we open a shelter. And we have them pre-designated throughout the counties. All counties and cities have them. We do agreements ahead of time. So when these things happen, we're not scurrying in the middle of the night going, where are we going to put all these people? We already know, and based on where the disaster is or what the problem is where we decide where we're going to put the bulk of the people. Like with the Rim fire.
How many people were displaced by the Rim fire?
Well, we actually housed over 1,000 people.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. We did 15,000 snacks, 9,000 meals. We provided food for law enforcement as well, because they were out there working just as hard as the fire crews. At the Emergency Operating Center, we provided the food for them so that they could just stay put and do what they needed to do.
Where did you keep 1,000 people?
Oh, we had the fairgrounds, the Sonora Fairgrounds, and we encompassed the whole fairgrounds. We had the back section, which is the barn and the stable area, where if we needed to bring in livestock and horses and things, because all of that was evacuated as well.
I hadn't even thought of that.
And then you have folks with their pets. They're not going to leave their pet behind, so they bring that with them. And the Animal Services was kind enough, they had that set up within their facility. But we also, because some folks didn't want to be parted from them, even to put them in the animal shelter for protection, they wanted them with them. So we had a whole section that was set up beside the first shelter, which was in the Manzanita room building at the far end of the fairgrounds. So there was a big lawn area. So we had that set up for the animals, for pets. And Petco donated tons of cages and carriers for us, and some other companies did easy ups.
I'm blown away thinking about the coordination that went into this that none of us really would even think about, you know? It just happens. It seems like it just all falls together.
We're glad that it looks that way, we really are. But it takes a lot of work to get to that, and that's the pre-planning of going out and meeting with these agencies. Making sure that they understand that during a disaster, can we call you at 2 in the morning if we need to, because we need cat cages or dog food or something. So it's making those partnerships before the need comes in, makes it run a lot smoother.
Oh, for sure. Was this the biggest event that you've been a part of since you've been with the Red Cross, the Rim Fire?
No. Actually, I was in the Montana wildfires, the San Diego wildfires. I was in Houston for the flooding.
Oh, my goodness.
So we do travel. We get sent out, deployed to different states to assist. I mean, we have folks that were just deploying yesterday to Colorado. Some from, actually 2 from Calaveras went, and I believe 1 from Sonora went.
So you were living here and flew over to these different states.
That's what we do.
I'm kind of glad when you mentioned you were there for those fires. That's kind of suspicious.
Exactly. Oops.
See what after. To help, okay.
Right, because it's set up the same way we did it here. Was, it starts out as we get the call from Office of Emergency Services for the county saying we have a large fire going or there's flooding going on. But with the Rim Fire, there's a wildland fire. It was in Groveland, so there was homes affected by that. So we opened the first night, which was in Groveland at the Tioga High School. But the fire was on the same road. The next morning, right away the next morning, we moved it down to the Sonora
And then when that
Fairgrounds.
call goes out to you, you call people who might be in Colorado or these other states and they
we
come to
use
help?
local first.
Local first, and then if
Then
it gets
it-
a little bit out of hand or bigger than what we can handle, then people...
Then they start coming in. But we have, the Capital Region chapter is 23 counties large. We have a huge volunteer base that we pull from. And so that is all considered one chapter.
Okay.
So we have probably 5,000 volunteers within that Capital Region chapter, and we have all those resources available to us. I had 2 rider trucks here on the 3rd day, which had tons of cots and supplies, so that if we met the expectations of what they thought the evacuations were going to come to, we anticipated probably close to 10,000 people would be evacuated as it moved along.
Yeah.
So usually on the average, 10 to 15% of that population will come into your shelter. So you're still looking at 700 to 1,000, maybe even 2,000.
Yeah.
So we made sure that we had enough food, enough supplies and cots and staffing, because it takes staff. You have to have mental health workers there, because this is a traumatic, emotional event that people are going through. So we have mental health workers there. We have health services, because people with respiratory illnesses and the smoke, that compromises their breathing again.
See, I wanted to ask you about that. I have allergies, but I have asthma, which sometimes it just comes on just like that. I live in Valley Springs, and even the smoke in the air in Valley Springs from the Rim Fire was bothering me. And I had thought about that. I wondered if the people who live nearby, maybe they don't have to be evacuated, they're safe in their home, but if being that close to the fire is hard for them to breathe, are they allowed to come and stay at the shelter?
Absolutely.
Okay, you don't have to be evacuated to go to the shelter.
No.
Okay.
We had a lot of folks that were just scared. The smoke, they could see the fire on the second ridge, and even though it was nowhere near their home, the safety of being someplace where someone else was and they weren't alone. We had a lot of folks that were just respiratory issues or just fear.
Right.
And so they would come and stay, and they got 3 great hot meals, and we had a couple live bands there a couple nights so that they could keep entertained. Because it's
Get your
hard
mind off of it for a
you
little
have
bit.
to. We were fortunate because CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service came in twice a day to brief all the clients and the staff on what was going on a regular basis.
Because not
it was
knowing
huge.
it can make you crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's worse, I think, than knowing is. And they brought maps in every day, and so that the folks could see, this is where the fire is, and this is what's going on. This is the progress we've made. And so it was nice. And when the evacuation, when certain areas were lifted, they'd come down personally and say, okay, we've lifted the evacuation orders from this part of Groveland or this part of the 108, so you can start going back. The other thing that I really have to mention, because it was just phenomenal to me, was the community outreach.
Oh, yes.
From all the counties, from Calaveras to Tuolumne, Stanislaus, Sacramento, all over. The donations it just amazed me.
Right.
With food, clothing, anything you could imagine, they brought.
I saw, I was trying to keep up on Facebook and on the news, but I really liked keeping up with the fire and what was happening on Facebook, because I would see businesses and different organizations who were collecting things to help out, but then just regular people, just regular everyday people who wanted to do something.
That's it. They would pull in and say, all I can afford is a couple cases of water, or here's 3 boxes of granola bars.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal to me.
So it brings out the best in people.
It does. It does. And it makes you proud of where you live, and that you know that there's such big hearts. And because a lot of the folks, couldn't afford to do it either, but yet they did.
They did, yeah.
And, we had so many spontaneous community volunteers that came in wanting to help. They helped with the pets, take care of pets, or just visiting with the pets. They helped move water, they helped unload food, set up cots, just visiting, keeping somebody company, a companion. It amazes me all the time.
Very cool. So I just had 2 thoughts pop into my head at the same time. One is, what kind of things are you supposed to bring to a shelter when you're being evacuated and taken there? What do you want people to bring? And the other is, if you're not staying at the shelter but want to help, do you accept anything, or do they have to be canned things or sealed up goods?
That's a tough question. When we first open a shelter, the needs are so great because we don't know what's coming in. Some people have an opportunity to grab personal items or things that they need from their home before they're evacuated, but lots of times they don't, and they don't have to bring anything.
Okay. Except that they need medication, maybe? Or do you have
we
a doctor there
we
who
have
can...
nurses and we have doctors. So if someone had to, and we had that happen several times. We had one that actually had left her wheelchair, and her family carried her and put her in the car. So we were able to get her another wheelchair. The doctor that we worked with was wonderful, who was able to make contact with pharmacies. We set up medications being brought in. So Red Cross provides every need. We tried to provide every need so that when you're there, you're okay.
That is awesome.
It's an amazing organization.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just huge.
How long have you been doing this?
Since '05.
Boy.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Do you get a lot of training before you do this?
You do, and we have ongoing training constantly, and it's never costs anything to train for disaster.
Nice, okay.
And preparedness presentations. We'd love to have folks come help do preparedness presentations.
Is that another one of the services you guys provide?
We do several.
When you said that, it popped into my head. You guys do go around and you CPR classes?
Well, we do CPR classes and first aid classes, but we do disaster preparedness. Letting the community know, whether it's a business or a private person, these are the things that you should keep on hand. You should have at least a week's worth of food stocked up, water, medication, things like that, because you never know when it's going to happen. And so we do these great presentations that show you, it's examples of what you can get. And a lot of it you can buy at the Dollar Tree store.
The things that you need to have on hand.
It's like, just a shower curtain that you can put for help the smoke, to keep the smoke out, is duct tape, blue tape, and a shower curtain that you buy at the Dollar Tree store over your window, so the smoke doesn't come through the window or along the bottom of the door. So
where do you guys do these presentations? I should probably attend one.
Well, we like to have organizations ask for them.
Okay.
Because it's businesses, if a disaster hit in the middle of the day, say it's a grocery store, does the grocery store know what to do if suddenly a fire came through and or a flood or something and they had to stay in the store? Do they know what they needed to do to stay there, to shelter in place?
I don't know. But if something like that came through, I would hope to be in a grocery store.
That's true, because you have food, water, you got all the good stuff. But just, businesses, so we do a whole presentation on how to shelter in place. We have training classes and presentations that we do for our elderly, our seniors, our access and functional needs folks, because there's a lot of them that don't realize that some of their needs are way different than someone else's, and knowing what it is that they need to have on hand to be prepared is huge.
Right.
And so we do those. We go to the care homes and making sure they know their evacuation plans and disaster plans, and We have babysitting classes for young girls.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so they can go in and they get certified. They learn CPR, they learn all kinds of things, how proper meals to prepare for when you're taking care of children. And
Is that a one-day class?
no, it's
or
actually a weekend.
Series? A weekend, okay.
It's a weekend class.
How often do you do those?
We actually have them in Sonora and Tuolumne County. They're, I think, once a month or twice a month now.
Okay. Any in Calaveras?
We have actually one in Calaveras
Okay.
that takes place, and we can
That's a
do
great
them
idea.
anywhere. So it's
Okay.
if someone wants some classes done, just let me know. We can get those arranged.
That is such a neat idea. Now, those the preparedness speeches that you give, you guys do those just at schools, right?
We do them at schools. There are children's programs that we do as well, which is teaching a child how to shelter in place if they're in school, or kind of a little backpack that mom and dad can put together with a small flashlight in it, granola bars, things like that. So kids know, because sometimes...
Well, I made it happen without my knowledge, but I don't remember my kids having that sort of training at school. But that was years ago. But you guys do this
We do the
on a regular
schools,
basis.
absolutely.
Good. Very cool. Now, I'm thinking about the volunteering. This is going to sound so horrible for me to say out loud.
Oh, no.
But I like to volunteer. When I had heard about the fire and other things that have gone on, and I see these people from the Red Cross on television, I wonder about their own families, and I would think, I don't know if I could do that if I thought that my own family might need me. I don't know if I could leave them to go help other people.
And that happens.
And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Oh, it's not in a bad way. But see, that's all where the preparedness comes into play too. Because if we're prepared at home ourselves first, and we prepare our families, we teach them what they need to do so that if we're not there, then we can go with more confidence knowing that our family knows what to do. They know that they need an outside contact person, so usually someone in another state, say Aunt Betsy. So if something happens and you're working, whether it be Red Cross or Habitat or anything else, you can call that Aunt Betsy in Arizona and say, I'm okay, so if my husband calls, he knows to call Aunt Betsy if he's away from me, and we've both made contact with an outside source, because if a disaster happens here, you won't have phone lines. Most of the time you won't have either a satellite phone, cell tower, or you're not going to have regular phone lines. So
when the rim fire was happening, if people didn't have cell phones or any kind of communication, how do they know where to go?
Well, that law enforcement.
Okay, they're going door to door and telling them.
They're going door to
Red
door.
Cross is set up at
Right,
this
the fairgrounds.
Okay.
We had one in Merced going as well. Because of the 120 side, we needed something on that side too.
Yeah.
So they had one open over there. So it's at Greeley Hills.
Okay, I see. Now but that's something I had thought of often, like all those people that's so neat that they do that work, but what about their own family? So if something were to happen close to your home, you would stay in your own neighborhood and you'd be able to do Red Cross work right there? Or do they have rules about not to work so close to home and let other people take over?
No, if it's home, you work at home. I was the site director for the rim fire. I was the one that set up the fairgrounds, did all of the arranging.
And you lived nearby?
I actually have a house here in Calaveras, and I have a place down in Ripon. So I have two places that I go to because I have large territory. I have Stanislaus County, Calaveras County, and Tuolumne County, and Alpine. Those are all my territories.
Wow.
So I got to have places all over the place to go to.
Golly.
So it's an amazing thing to do.
I bet.
Helping people is, I think, one of the most rewarding things anyone can do.
When you think about your work, what the most memorable thing you've done or person you've met, what do you think of?
Oh, I have to tell you about a wonderful couple that we had, actually, even from the rim fire, as recent as the rim fire. We had an older couple that came in, and they were both in their late 80s, and they were evacuated, and they came to the shelter, and I'd put them in a part of the shelter that was kind of secluded off to the corner, and he insisted that their cots face each other. And so we put the cots together, and he reached over and held her hand.
Oh.
They'd been married since she was 15 and he was 17, and they were in their late 80s.
Oh my goodness.
And they had brought a kitty with them, and of course the pets can't be inside the shelter with clients because of health reasons and things. And so we had another empty facility, and she was just so emotional over she hadn't been away from her cat in 17 years.
Oh,
that cat
boy.
slept with her every night for 17 years.
Wow.
So I moved them to the empty facility, and Kitty got to go in for a little while, at least until she fell asleep. But just the comfort on her face, just having her cat with her, and the idea of him just reaching over and holding her hand, it was like
so sweet.
It was such a humbling moment that it makes you go, yeah, I'm in the right place,
Right.
doing the right thing.
Oh, to see that kind of love.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, I
I know, it's like, okay, I wasn't going to do this.
That is so neat. Oh, you must meet so many different kinds of people, and you meet them at probably one of the scariest times of their lives. And
it is, but just to be able to give them that moment of comfort, or that feeling that I can't tell you it's going to be okay, but at least right at this moment, it is.
And I'm with you.
Exactly. You're not doing this alone.
Yeah, that is really neat. So blood drives, local disasters,
babysitting classes. Lifeguarding classes.
Oh, neat. Okay.
We do lifeguarding classes. We have children's programs. We have the ski program, which is the Safe Kid Initiative, which is...
It's the what?
Safe Kid Initiative.
Okay.
So we call it the ski program.
What do you do with that?
And that's the backpack program.
Okay.
Where they learn to carry a backpack, which is things that'll get them by.
Okay.
We have a new program, which is called Fire Stoppers.
Ooh, tell me about that.
Which is an awesome program. What that is we canvass communities, high-risk communities for home fires and things like that.
Which is a huge part of our community, everywhere in the county.
It is.
Yeah.
And what it is, we go out and we canvass, and we tell them that we're going to be doing a seminar 1 week later. So we gather these folks in one place, and there's 7 stations. They learn how to use a fire extinguisher. They learn the safe way of what a CO2 monitor and fire alarms mean in their home. They learn compression-only CPR. They learn pet first aid. They learn the recovery process if perchance they are less fortunate and their home is lost. What steps they need to do to come back. What is the recovery involved? What are the resources that are available for them to help them get back on to where they were in the beginning? We teach them how to make an evacuation plan in their home. It's just amazing. And they go from one station to the next. It moves really quickly. And at the end of the program, at the end of the seminar, they're given a bag, and in the bag is a fire extinguisher, surge protector, smoke alarm, CO2 monitor, flashlight, batteries. So it's just something to get them started. And then they also get preparedness information, a shopping list of things that they should keep on hand in their cupboard.
I seriously need to get one of those lists. I was telling you before we start, I'm such a control freak. I love lists. And not just the list, I like to use the list.
I was going to say, we got to use the list too.
But that would bring me a lot of peace of mind to know that I'm prepared in that way. For myself and my family, and even my neighbors.
Well, that's it. Cool. I mean, sharing it with your neighbors. We've done neighborhood preparedness presentations, and during the summertime, folks get together and we do it in somebody's front lawn, and because some people don't realize what you need to be prepared.
Right.
So if it's right in front of you so that you can see, oh, I can get this week, and maybe next week I can get these 3 items. And so it's and
we're all made differently. I mean, the things that are important to us, if we were to have a fire nearby, the things that come to my mind are home videos and movies and the kids' old, things that I wanted to keep for memories. My husband, though, he would be thinking really practical. He would be thinking we need to get blankets, so we need to do this or that. So I like that idea. That's
insurance. Make sure you get your insurance policy. Keep the copies of those things, your driver's license, insurance copies, all of that. You can put those in a Ziploc sealed bag, and you stick them in the inside liner of your refrigerator or your freezer,
Yeah.
they stay there and they're protected. They're in plastic. And if you do have a house fire, it's also protected because the inside of the refrigerator, 99% of the time, is not burnt.
Really?
And so you have access to that. Keeping some cash in there, just stick it in the freezer and put things up against it.
Right. Oh, neat idea. Now, this is one of those programs that people can call you and ask for, or you go and say, well, we need to cover this area next month.
On Firestopper,
Yeah.
we find the locations, the communities to go into, the
Okay.
neighborhoods to canvass. But the actual preparedness presentations, we encourage businesses or neighborhoods, to call, and we'll come out and do them, or we'll put
Okay.
them together at the community center.
Okay.
In fact, we are working on putting one here at Calaveras at the community center, putting on a
good.
large preparedness presentation, about 3
Okay.
hours long. But it's snacks, you can visit and see how things are done and practice putting kits together.
Right.
And
Oh, that's so important.
it is, especially right after having this big disaster,
yeah.
is the best time because it's in everybody's mindset. And the more you're prepared, the safer you and your family are going to be when it happens. It's
Yeah.
not so much if, it's always a when.
Yeah.
We just don't know when.
That's right. We don't have all that much time left, but I'm so big on volunteering. How do people go about volunteering for Red Cross? Do they call you, or do they call a national number? Do they reach you online?
Actually, they can do it a couple ways.
Okay.
They can go to the nearest Red Cross office, which the one for Calaveras County is in Sonora
Okay.
at 13669 Monoway. Or they can go online to redcross.org, and there's a place on the bottom that says, how can I help? Become a volunteer.
Neat.
And you can do your application, everything can be done online.
Okay.
Or you can come into the office and we have computers set up and we can help you there.
Is it 18 and older, 21 and older?
15.
15?
15, with a parent's consent, 15 can help do presentations, go out and do fairs and hand out
That
literature.
is
And it's a
great.
great way to get them
Yeah.
involved and learning humanitarianism. And
I
moving
love
up.
that. Oh, I wish I'd known about that when my daughter would love to have done something like that.
Well, she
she
still
still
can.
could. She lives in Stockton now, but oh, that is so up her alley. I had no idea.
oh,
That is really
absolutely.
neat.
There's so many things that Red Cross does and what
Yeah.
we have. There's always something for someone.
Oh, that's so neat. And I'm guessing people can also find ways to make donations by the
Absolutely.
the online, or go into the office, or give you a call.
Absolutely.
Oh, neat.
Thank you.
You guys do so much great work. I'm so happy to have met you.
Thank you.
Not just because you're fun, but because you do such neat work.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much
Awesome.
for having me.
Yes,
Appreciate
come
it.
back anytime, okay? If you guys have
appreciate
anything
that.
going on, I'd love to hear about it. Any new
Awesome.
programs. Great.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you next time on Tammy's Window on Calaveras.